He felt that the Holy Spirit blessed him and granted all his dreams. Soon Ron and Tommy Ward's dreams will be turned into a confession that will cost their life in prison. The first case was Deborah Sue Carter, where someone broke into her upstairs apartment, where she was raped and killed. The second case was the kidnapping of Denise Haraway from a Canley convenience store that was raped and murdered. These two cases put the small town of Ada into fear. The subsequent criminal justice proceeding to pursue justice and fairness. However, in the process, several judicial dissuades observed from investigation to the prosecution. However, critical agenda is to push forward the common legal loopholes or the shortcomings experienced at the hands of the law and parties charged with equality. The small town of Ada had more Native Americans than any other state and filled with churches that rang. Ada only had 16,000 people and was 1 mile from Oklahoma City. This town was known for the best horse ranchers. The people talked to strangers, and kids played all over with no fear. Grisham P. 4. Till the night of December 7, 1982, the night before Deborah Sue Carter's murder. She was working at Coach Light in Ada. It was a slow night. She got off her shift early and hung out with a friend Gina Vita at Coach Light. Glenn Gore stops by and asks her to dance. She stopped in the middle of the song because Glenn scared her. Deborah ran to the bathroom and asked a friend to stay the night. Her friend asked why she felt scared, but she never said. At about 12:30 a.m., Carter left Coach Light because she was hungry and tired. Her friend Gina asked her to go to a party, but she refused to go. At the end of the night, people saw Glenn standing next to Deborah's car, talking to her. The month before this, she told people at work she was scared of Glenn because of his temper. As people were leaving that night, they saw her talking to Glenn. Only if her coworkers knew this would be the last night they seen Deborah. Before the murder, Gina got 2 phone calls at 2:30 a.m., and both were from Deborah. She said, "Come here because someone was there." Gina asked who was there, but Deborah did not speak because there was a struggle there with the phone. Before driving, Deborah called back and said everything was fine. Grisham P. 8. Early that morning, Donna Johnson decided to stop by Deborah. She was a close friend to Deborah since high school. She lives an hour away from Deborah. Donna was the first to notice the glass window broken, and the door was open. She entered the apartment and noticed everything was amiss. Donna went to the bedroom and saw a foot under the bed sheet. It was Debbie Carter. She saw writing all over her and in the kitchen. Also, all of her clothes were off the hangers. She ran back to her car and drove to the convenience store where she called Deborah's mom Peggy, and then she called Carol Edwards's that lived across the street from Deborah. She also tried to call Charlie Carter, that was the father of her. They all went back to the crime scene, and Donna stayed outside. Charlie and Carol went inside and noticed the crime scene. Deborah's dad was saying goodbye to his daughter and saying sorry for what happened to her. After Deborah's dad came out, they decided to call the police. Grisham P. 10. Detective Dennis Smith was on scene for Ada Police. He was a veteran. He knew most of the people in Ada. The victim was face down, nude, bloody with something written on her. The words wrote in a reddish liquid that was nail polish said, "Jim Smith next will die." He was a local thug, a small-time criminal. In the kitchen written in catsup said, "Don't look for us or Elise." On Deborah's back and dried up, catsup said, "Duke Graham." Duke Graham ran a nightclub. On her chest, it said, "Die" in red nail polish. Mike Keysweater was an ADA police photographer. Grisham, P. 11. Gary Rogers was an agent with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation that helped with the investigation. Both thought there were 2 killers by the fingerprints. Debbie's body had marks on her ankles and wrists that the police assumed. But later the examiner said, there was not. There were marks to the head, washcloth in mouth, bruises on her sidearms, the vagina was bruised, and sperm in the vagina and anus. They think it was a cord or belt with the washcloth all together that killed her. They conclude all the marks happened when she was alive, and she had an alcohol level of .04. The funeral was on December 11th at Criswell's funeral home. Deborah was a pretty, dark hair, slim, popular with boys and very independent. Her mother was Peggy Stillwell, worried about her going out like any average parent. Her mother raised her as a church girl, not a party girl, and her mom did not like her lifestyle. The hunt for the killers started in the small town of Ada. Dozens of interviews were done with all 23 people at Coach Light the night before the murder. 21 men gave fingerprints and samples. One of Debbie's friends, named Angelia Nail, said Glenn Gore had stolen her wipers one night. That Debbie was scared of him, and they fought a week before it. They even both went to the police about him stealing and his temper. But again, Glenn gets no report. Glenn worked as a bartender and a disc jockey. That night he got dropped off by a friend at Oak Avenue Baptist Church that was a mile from Deborah Carter's place. He was seen with her in Coach Light and outside the night of her murder. He was one of the first that gave an interview to the police. Also, he was the last that one seen Deborah alive. Later on, his story changed, saying he saw Ron Williamson at Coach Light arguing with Debbie, but no one remembers Ron, there only Glenn. Somehow he was never tested for fingerprints or hair because of his involvement with Ada police and drug deals, and could be a possible CI, which means a cop informant. The cops choose to let him slip by because of his involvement with the department. But did Ada police truly know Glenn did it the whole time? Or did they just let him slip by because of his relationship with the police? 1 year after, he was called back to the ADA police for a statement. The police asked him to add more to the story that Deborah said Ron scared her. As Grisham would describe, the research appeared shoddy enough to meet the threshold of inquiry for clear evidence. The search revealed that the Dennis Fritz, for example, was merely invited into Carter's case due to their friendship with Ron and not anything criminal and offensive record. The fact that Glenn Gore was the last person seen with Debbie previously and having a history of misunderstandings with her contributed to the higher affinity of his investigation than on Williams. Ron Williamson was born in Ada on February 3, 1953, was popular in high school and an athlete. His parents could not afford much when he was young. November 3, 1973. Married to Patty O'Brien, was Miss Ada, but the marriage only lasted 3 years. The town of Ada seen Ron as a hero because of his career in baseball, and his dreams came true. Later the A's caught him on March 31st. He then started working at Bell Telephone Service and selling life insurance. In June 1976, he signed to Oneonta Yankees of the New York Penn League. Throughout his baseball career, he partied, drank, and hung out with girls. He thought he was a failure since he got cut from the leagues. He lost his life dream as a baseball player, and his depression grew. In 1978, his dad got cancer, and the cancer spread fast. His dad died on April 1st, 1978, which added to his depression. Before his dad died, he said, "Son, it's time to grow up and get on with your life." Grisham P. 49. April 30, 1978, 29 days after his dad's death, Tulsa police were called by Liza Lensk on Ron's first rape charge. She states that Ron raped her without police questioning her, and they arrested Ron. This is very common. It just takes one person to say something, and the police will act with no questions asked. Do you think if a guy made up a story, we would get the same respect as women? I think it's time for police to start asking questions. I believe every person willing to make a statement that involves a person to be in jail, they should be subject to a lie detector test to make sure they are telling the truth. If this happens, they should have nothing to fear. If we enforce this, this will stop people from making up false stories. His first appearance in court, the judge made his bond $10,000 to get out. Ron states it was consensual, and she made it up. His friends said women threw themselves at him all the time. Ron had no reason to rape a woman. At this point, he drank a lot, and his depression grew because someone made up a false lie and could be facing jail time. On September 9th, a second leg rape occurred. If a person under investigation for the first rape, you would think they would have surveillance watching him. Do you think the police planned or asked this second girl to make up a lie to convict Ron or to make him more depressed to break him of doing a crime? With my research, I saw surveillance ask people to lie to convict people or to make a person sad or mad so they would commit a crime. Amy Del Fernie could be a cop informant, or was she just a girl out for revenge against her boyfriend for locking her out? She was locked out her apartment, so she went to the nearby store where she met Ron. Later, the girl made a statement. He punched her and went in the grass to have sex. It does not state in the book of anything proving there was a mark on her. Roy's statement says she was angry at her boyfriend and was consensual sex. Typical when a person finds a person cheating, they usually blame it on rape so that it won't ruin their relationship. But what about the other person? Don't they care about them? Ron was found not guilty on both trials. The first case, the girl admitted to having sex, but changed her mind during sex and did not say anything because she feared she could get hurt. In the second case, there was not much proof, just his word against hers. But remember, back in the earlier days, people felt girls threw themselves at guys. Today, if a girl makes up a lie most of the time, the guy would lose if it is his word against hers. It is sad that we solely believe in people to tell the truth. It could ruin a person's life just on false lies. This will continue to happen because the DA states if they press charges against any girl that lies, it will scare all girls of coming forward. This statement came from GA in Appleton, WI, in 2012. I do not see it that way. Have they tested this theory? So they give girls a free pass to lie. Do guys get the same free pass? The criminal justice system has to change to stop convicting innocent people just because they are different or has a criminal record. Wikipedia states 2 to 6% are false rape reports. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, there have been 297 wrongful convictions overturned since 1989 that involved a false confession. en.wikipedia.org, 2019. After a few weeks, Ron started showing bizarre behavior, long unshaven hair. One day something frightened him. He began hearing voices. He never told anyone what they said. Grisham P. 53. He even called his mom crying, saying that the devil terrified him and would not leave. Was the devil surveillance or Ada police? I believe they were watching him or doing stings to test him to see if he would break the law. After 2 rape charges, the state thinks he's a threat, and they will follow him. Therefore, they will do stings such as a test to see if he will hurt or rape someone, and this is the devil. These tests will do a number on the average person, such as making him go crazy or show bizarre behavior. How does one recover from years of surveillance? Well, today there is still no treatment for it because it's all hidden. Doctors and therapists tend not to believe in Americans are getting watched. There are 327 million people in the United States. Edward Snowden states the NSA is watching everyone. The number of people getting watched 24/7 and tested with stings we will never know. Stings are when the police try to get a person to commit a crime. But my guess is in the millions. There were no signs of a family history of mental illness. I believe police and surveillance were there to break him, which they accomplished. One of the first things they do during an investigation is to make the person go crazy or to make it look like they are. Once everyone thinks they are insane, no one believes them. Then police and surveillance have a free ticket to messing with them. Most of the time, after this point, the person will break and commit a crime. Do you think this is fair? Even if Ada police, FBI, and surveillance were watching him, they would not admit it because it would ruin the investigation. Shortly after this, Ron went to jail for forgery. In the summer of 1983, He cashed a check that cost him 3 years in prison. While he was in prison, the Ada police questioned him about Carter's murder. Doctors were puzzled with Ron, thinking he had a bipolar, paranoid disorder or something they could not confirm. But these all could be signs of depression, drugs, alcohol abuse, and cops messing with him. The doctors state he was manic, but this can be easily confused with surveillance trauma. Help Guide says emotional and psychological symptoms of trauma are shock, denial, or disbelief, confusion, difficulty concentrating, anger, irritability, mood swings, anxiety and fear, guilt, shame, self-blame, withdrawing from others, feeling sad or hopeless, and feeling disconnected. Physical symptoms are insomnia or nightmares, fatigue, being startled easily, difficulty concentrating, racing heartbeat, edginess and agitation, aches, and pains. Robinson, 2019. I can tell Ron showed almost all these, and doctors thought it was manic or schizophrenia. But they were wrong. I believe he had trauma. The few symptoms that stick out the most are confusion, anger, mood swings, fear, guilt, self-blame, and the number one is the dream nightmare confession that we get to in a little bit. I believe hospitals are not given the right tools and truth to treat people. In our near future, there will be more and more of these cases. Doctors will soon have to figure out if they are suffering the symptoms of surveillance stings done by the police, which they don't tell the hospital if they are. I can tell you from experience these tests done to an average person, they will never recover from it. They are left and scarred for life. Do they deserve this just because someone made up a story, or they thought he was a threat? Any average person will not survive these tests, and most will fail or go crazy. Would you survive the sting? Plus, in the manic state, you stay up for hours. His mother said he would sleep all day. It sounds like he was trying to escape from something. His mother tried to ask the court to do something, but his mother and any average person would not understand mental illness, or if surveillance is messing with someone, people tend not to believe it. When people act differently, it scares people. When you're under investigation, those tests, stings can damage a person and make them go crazy. Don't you find it strange Ron was normal and had no problems till the 2 rape charges and the suspect of Carter's murder suddenly he has a mental illness? He was admitted to the hospital many times. The police were trying to tear his credibility and make him commit a crime. But maybe he did have a mental illness, but with no family having it, which is very unlikely of him having it. There was proof of police harassing him because his friend Bruce Leba was with him when he noticed cops following him. Grisham P. 55. In 1982 he was charged for his third OWI, which he pleaded guilty. So, if he is guilty, he pleads it. Just like anyone, when he did not do it he claims innocent. I think he was the target of the police. It was set up from the beginning since the police believe he got away with 2 rapes. 3 months after the death of Deborah Ada, police questioned Ron again because they knew he was an easy target, rough shape, and 2 previous rape charges. They also target Dennis Fritz, and he was under investigation too. So why would the police not know what they are doing? If he were a suspect in the Carter murder case, they would be watching him. They just don't let the murderer walk around. Previously, Dennis's wife was shot dead from a 17-year-old neighbor when he was out of town. Dennis's dreams seemed they were never coming true, and he was waiting to wake up from this nightmare. Dennis did 2 polygraphs. The first time he flunked because he was nervous and took a volume. The second time severely failed again, but worse. Grisham P. 68. But was this true, or did the police lie to them? Smith and Rogers both kept playing bad cop and a good cop, threatening and saying you know something. Dennis felt threatened with the death chair and more. He even got jabbed in the chest, telling him to confess. Dennis kept saying no and get out my face. They were telling him Williamson broke in on the girl, and he helped. With no evidence, the cops had to squeeze them to confess. After 2 hours of verbal abuse, Dennis said, a story about him and Ron on a trip. After 3 hours the police finally stopped and let him go, but they followed him everywhere and even woke up with a cop car in front of his house watching him. Police use this trick to break a person or to make them go crazy. Cops were digging in his background and found hidden drug charges. They even went to his work and told them he had previous drug charges, and he was under investigation for the murder of Carter. His work fired him. During an investigation, they will spread lies or do anything to make you lose everything you love in life. They do this so the person loses everything, so they turn to crime or confess to something that they did not do because they feel like their life is over. The police said Ron Williamson was the prime suspect because he lives close to the murder scene and he had 2 previous rape charges. Even though he was proven innocent of these crimes, police knew for sure he was a rapist. It shows you if you're proven innocent by juror, they will still think you're guilty, and you got away with the crime. So, therefore police will pursue you and will get you sooner or later. Grisham P. 72. Ron's mother's statement begins. His mother's name was Juanita, had a diary of her life and was a church person. She later found a paper from a video store showing they rented movies and watched them all night. Then the mother filed a report with cops and even made a video with them, which was later lost by the police. They tend to forget stuff or ask the court not to credit this if it does not help their case. His mother visited jail all the time, seeing Ron. Later on, his mom was dying. She begs them to let him come. They did let him see his mom before her death and the funeral, but both times he was in handcuffs. Shortly after his mom died, the police said, we can presume Ron since his witness is dead. They had Deborah's body dug back up and had the palm print say it was Deborah so they can move in on Ron. Both men had problems and just looking for friendship. But the police did not see it that way. They keep harassing them both but eventually arrested both of them and charged them with the rape and murder of Carter. Ron's dream confession was on May 9th, and the police did not record it. Ron said, okay, December 8th, 1982, I was hanging out at the Coach Light frequently, and I was there one night looking at a girl, pretty girl, and thought I should follow her home. Grisham P. 126. Thought what if something bad would happen that night, and followed her home. Grisham P. 126. I was with Dennis, and we went to the Holiday Inn and told a girl that we had a bar in our car, and got her, and she jumped. Grisham P. 127. Okay, I had a dream about killing Debbie, was on her, had a cord around her neck, stabbed her frequently, pulled the rope tight around her neck. Grisham P. 127. I am worried about what this will do to my family, and my mother is dead now. Grisham P. 127. He stated he was mad at her. After more questions, Ron got smart and asked for a lawyer. The lawyer stops it right away before it was a tape. But the police did not need to worry. Ron told his dream to inmates about him driving to Coach Light and drank. Then she ended up at Deborah's, and she was on the phone. He broke in and raped her and killed her. This person then reported it and said it in court later. His name was Christian Grisham P. 129. The sentencing system exposes a high level of unpredictability and inconsistency in nature with the cases mentioned. The investigation and examination of the palm print revealed no congruence between the photographs and either Deborah, Fritz, or Ron, disqualifying the two from suspicion. The forensic expert redid the examination and concluded that the review and analysis of the samples of palm print were Deborah's. The reason that might have redirected the expert to found that the samples were Deborah's is the ugly tune to prove the validity of the research earlier conducted. Ideal reliable investigations and examination experts carefully investigate and provide a consistent result for prosecution and decision-making, where he never have changed his mind through his career. The juror said guilty and convicted Williamson to death and Fritz to a life sentence. They were convicted because the print was supposed to be Deborah's. They had so many jailhouse snitches, or CI, which is cop informant that told on people to lower their sentence. Most of the time, these people were said to make up a false statement that also, Ron dream confession that put him behind bars. Also, hair experts made a lot of people thinking for sure they had to do it because he was an expert. Denise Haraway was a 24-year-old student at East Central who worked part-time at McAnally's convenience store. She has been married for 8 months to Steve Haraway. April 28, 1984, around 8:30 p.m., a young man was leaving with Denise, and his arm was around her waist. It looked like they were a couple. They both got in an old Chevrolet pickup truck with spotty gray premiered and started heading east. When the stranger entered the store, the register drawer was open, cigarette burning, beer open, and a purse left. The stranger could not find anyone in the store, so he called the police. He went in her bag, and it was the same girl he seen get in the truck from the ID he found in the purse, Grisham P. 78. He also went to the convenience store a lot and knew who Denise was. But if he has been there a lot, wouldn't he have noticed her going out in the first place because he knew who she was? Something here does not make much sense. Detectives should be asking how did he not notice it was her if he been there a lot. A similar crime happened in a nearby city. Patty Hamilton went missing from a convenience store 30 miles from ADA on April 9, 1983. This one was never solved too. Everything matched the same as Haraway's case described here. Both crimes were identical, and both done in the same month of April, only a few days in between, but 1 year apart. How many women have been missing from a convenience store in Oklahoma? Is this person still out there? While waiting for the detective, they searched to see if they took the money. The money was still under the drawer. The manager did throw out the cigarette and beer before the police have shown up. If there were any prints or DNA on anything, it's gone now. How do they know this person that called the police wasn't the person that took her and robbed the place? The person that called police could have easily made up the story and did it himself. I did not see much on the person that called it in. Most of the time, a person that has done a crime will call it in, be right in front of you, or back to the crime scene. Look at the Carter case. Gore was right there, but cops choose not to look into him because of his involvement with Ada police and drugs. Detective Dennis Smith did the start of the investigation was called to the scene again, Grisham P. 78. The clerk down the street told police about two strange young men that spooked her not long before the disappearance of Haraway. Both were white males, 5'10" and 5'8", long blonde hair past the ears, and the other with light brown hair that was shoulder-length long hair. They were both in their 20s and strange behavior. What is strange behavior to a person? They played a game of pool and jumped in their truck, Grisham P. 78. The customer at McAnally's only seen one man. She did not appear to be frightened by him. They looked all night for her and then called it off to look again in the morning. They had two sketches of the men they saw down the road, Grisham P. 79. But the truth is they can't pinpoint if those were the same men at McAnally's. They assume it was since they were down the road. They played the sketches on TV, and the calls poured in, more than 100 calls with 25 names. Rumors went out about an old boyfriend in Texas, drug traffickers, and bizarre crimes. Well, these rumors kind of make sense now since Gore admits Ada police were involved in a drug ring. These rumors could have some truth. I never rule out anything because you should question everything, and if you don't, you're not a real detective. But out of all the names, two stood out the most. Billy Charlie's name was said, by 30 callers, arrived with his parents and said was home that night. But who says his parents are telling the truth? And any parents would lie for their kids. Tommy Ward's name was mentioned many times by callers, too, Grisham P. 79. He was a local boy. Police knew him well. Tommy was arrested many times for drunkenness and theft. He had 8 siblings and was a dropout. He was fishing with a friend Carl Fontenot. They gone to a cake party, stayed out until 4 am and walk home. Plus, they did not own a vehicle. Tommy had blonde hair, concise uneven cut. They took a picture of the back of his head on May 1st, 1984. Jeff Miller told police he was with two women at a party. That scene Tommy Ward left the party in Jeanette Roberts' truck to get more beer. When he returned, he was scared and said he did something terrible, that he killed someone. Why would he come a forward month later with this story? The two women already moved away. The police found them a month later. They both said they have never seen Tommy or at a party. They should be looking at the guy that lied. Why would he tell this fake story? Why is the world filled with lies? After seeing so many people coming forward with lies, how can a person trust anyone these days? They interviewed Tommy again and recorded. The cops were trying to confuse him. The police kept lying and acting as someone testified against him. They kept accusing him of killing her. They said to Tommy, the family would like to find her body. He kept saying he did not do it. Smith, the detective, said, use your imagination and give a guess where she is. He said no clue. They keep pulling a photo out and putting it by his face the whole time. Police always pull out pictures so the suspect would see it and hope it triggers something, or, worse, implant her in your memory. They kept badgering him and said, if you want all this suffering to end, tell us where she is. Grisham P. 87? He was angry with how cops treated him and accused him of this. After the interview, the police believe they found their person because they caught him lying. Since the interview, Tommy started having nightmares about everything? Well, this makes sense. He is under high stress and the trauma from that interview. But also, if police believe they had their person, they would set up surveillance to watch him. From the police interviews of them repeating, it will get in his head. Now with a dream produced by surveillance will seal the deal. How perfect could it be he had this dream right before the polygraph? Sounds too good to be true. At the end of this story, I will tell you how they implant dreams into people. Before the polygraph, they made him wait a long time. Another trick used by police to make a person more nervous before the polygraph: the more nervous you are, most likely to fail. After 2.5 hours of torturing, Tommy stuck to the truth and that he did not know anything. He thought he passed the test, but they stated he flunked it. But is that true? Later on, in the court case, he finds out he passed the test and the police lied. He states he was upset about the dream he had 6 nights ago. Police said, tell us about your dream. He was sitting in a pickup truck with 2 other men and a girl by the old power plant in Ada. One of the men tried to kiss the girl, and she refused. Tommy said to leave her alone. Then Tommy said he wanted to go home. He vanishes and reappears in front of his sink with blackish liquid off his hand. He said he couldn't remember the men or girl like most dreams. It doesn't make much sense. Grisham P. 90. Smith said you, Carl, and Odell Tatesworth all went to grab the girl and went to the power plant. Tommy said no, he kept feeling he was going to get beat up by the police. Smith kept repeating the story, trying to implant it in his head, and after 3 hours, it was getting in his head. They kept saying about the death plenty and how he can avoid it by saying what happened. The cops decided to add more to the dream. They started saying names for Tommy to say. Another hour passed and adding more to the dream. After 2 hours of pressure and he cracked because he feared the police. Tommy thought they would kill him, and they would hide the body. After hours of implanting what to say with his dream lingering in his head. Grisham P. 90. He decides to play along, but Tommy thought if he agrees with them, he could get out of that room. He stated how anyone could believe a dream anyways. He said Odell went in first, the robber was motive. Sure, they keep adding more, and he kept saying yes. Each time Tommy said a new place, and the police would search. Every time they found nothing, with a total of 3 times. The cops walked him through what to say many times. They even rehearsed it 3 times before the camera was on. They told him to leave the dream out. Police said, "Don't worry, we help you prove it after." At 6:58 p.m., he confessed. He has been in there since 11:05 a.m. They started the interview 8 hours ago. The Fifth Amendment says to protect suspects against self-incrimination, and the easiest way to solve a crime is to get a confession. A thick body governs police conduct during interrogations. Grisham P. 99. Carl Fontenot was arrested. In 2 hours, they had another confession and one too similar to Tommy's. Their confession never gave the right location or number of stab wounds, or if she broke free or anything. They both blame Odell Titsworth as the mastermind. They all drove to the power plant, and he was the one with the 6-inch block blade knife. They both stated he killed her and burned her. Grisham P. 97. Friday, October 19th, they arrested Titsworth. He was a 4-time felony, and he did not care what anyone said about him. April 26th, he broke his arm, fighting the police 2 days before Denise went missing. He was at his girlfriend's house wearing a cast and on heavy meds. He couldn't have done this with one arm, so they could not pin him to a confession. The confession started falling apart. The old house they claimed to burn down was actually burned down by the owner months earlier. They found the jawbone, but it belongs to a possum. Ward and Fontenot told their story in jail about the police and their innocence from threats to promises. Police made sure their Miranda rights were read, and it was on the recording. They were both in jail, and their confessions went against each other. So who would believe it? Their lawyers tried to argue the case because of a lack of evidence. They played the confession tapes at the hearing, and the reaction from people was surprising. The state has to supply the burden of proof, and this case did not have any. The way our Constitution is written, the DA should not have tried this case, but we do not live in a simple world. Just having a charge or tried in court, people would believe it happened. When authority like an officer gives a person command, even if it is not right, people will tend to believe it. People of Ada would say why an officer would arrest them if it were not true. When a police officer puts on a badge, suddenly God must give them this power never to lie or break the law. But, truth be said, police are human and can lie and break the law. The DA still tried the case even though they knew these men were innocent. In court, they had Terry Holland that said that Dennis admits he killed her in jail. Another witness from the court was Leonard Martin said, and he heard them saying, "I knew we would get caught and go behind bars." Both of these people were jailhouse snitches or a CI, which is a cop informant to get a lower sentence to testify and to make up a false story to convict these 2 innocent men. Why would the court allow people that committed crimes to testify against someone? Does the court know this person is not telling the truth? Who would believe a criminal in jail or a cop informant? These people committed crimes and jurors should know they will do anything to save their butt. When a person is scared of jail, that person will do anything to avoid it, such as make up a story on an innocent person. At the end of the trial, the juror said, "Guilty because of dream confession tapes and the 2 statements from the jailhouse snitches making up the stories." Both of these men were sentenced to life in jail. After court, they should look at both girls who were killed in the same city. They both had brown hair with curls, same thin appearance, and eye color. They should be looking at both of these crimes if the 2 were connected. If a killer and rapist are living in the same city, usually they will strike again even if it has passed a few years. But there is one particular person who has a specific type. Often, they stick to it. It does not mean anything how they were taken or killed, because if the guy is smart, he could do it differently both times to throw the police off. The sentencing is compromised from the mentioned offense. With the judge and police having a preoccupied mind against the case, it became predictable on the nature and intention of the case. Interest had taken the better part of the cases. Owing to the pre-existing relationship between the court and judge, The sentencing was indeed compromised. The element became expressed from the minute the police had launched the investigation, blatantly neglecting Gore and creating a new suspect. The component of compromises unveils when the prosecutor withholds pertinent information from the court and hearing, such as the analysis evidence from the palm as well. The judicial system depicted extreme evidence of flaws and erroneous nature from the various circles. The realization of falsely prosecution and sentencing of innocent individuals such as Dennis, Ron, Tommy, and Carl on the two different events indicated an erosion in the system. Furthermore, the fact that the courts rarely accepted appeals and retrials from the petitioners indicates an oppressed state of sentencing system. It depicts a weak order that either deliberately out to oppress the lives of the innocent convicts. The disproportionate application of the law where the innocent is intentionally subjected to blind forces of justice for personal interest tames the reliability of the sentencing. From the publication, we realized several descriptions of the sentencing at Oklahoma. The police officers used forced dreams confessions, false evidence, and unreliable witness to wrongfully charge Fritz and Williamson with murder and assault of Deborah Grisham P. 36. The search revealed that the Fritz, for example, was merely invited into Carter's case due to their friendship with Ron and not anything criminal and offensive record. The fact that Glenn Gore was the last person seen with Debbie previously and having a history of misunderstandings with her contributed to the higher affinity of his investigation than on Williams. Williamson was linked to the case after Glenn Gore. A witness testified to have heard him harassing Carter at the coaching club, where Gore worked as a waitress. Fritz, a high school teacher, was suspected since he was a frequent visitor in the bar. In their first questioning, both were let go due to a lack of evidence. Williamson imprisoned later for forging checks but not killing charges leveled against him this time. While in prison, an informant told the prosecutor that Williamson had confessed to killing Carter and both Williamson and Fritz. However, the evidence heavily relied upon was the dream confession of Williamson, saying that he had the dream of committing a crime. Watson, 353. Later it was established through DNA with the help of the Innocent Project that proves these men were not involved in the crimes as their hair did not match that found on the scene of crime and semen samples did not match those of Carter's rapists. The same DNA results were used to set Williamson and Fritz free of all charges in court. The final deliberations linking the semen found in Debbie's vagina to Glenn acts as an equal dirty sentencing system. The test matched the witness, Glenn Gore, who was convicted. However, they did not cancel the suffering they had received in connection to just an ordinary dream. Gore was arrested and charged with the murder of Debbie Carter. He pleaded not guilty. In 2003 he was convicted for the killing of Carter and was sentenced to life without parole. While aberration would come as an ordinary irregularity, the style and the consistency observed in the vindication invalidates it and makes it a matter of possible reoccurrence. From the onset, the issues that arose here were engineered and of greed-oriented. While the police were geared and set to conduct their investigations, they instead planned a new suspect and create another, more unrelated innocent suspect in the scene. That shows a tactical mechanism implemented in high-profile murder or criminal cases of getting away with the offense. Walton 181. While an accident would have lacked the consistency, the level of persistent negligence depicted in the narration eliminates any belief of aberrations. Similarly, considering the repetition of the offense, standard criminal charges, and similar errors to vindication disapproves aberration. With a reflection of Ron, the inmates came across inmates who had been convicted and charged with murder they never participated in. Tommy and Carl were subjected to forceful dream confession and acceptance of allegations by the investigation teams. Any-level investigations implement the rule of zero prejudice as it mitigates the neutrality of the course. The Oklahoma Innocence Project, an organization that helps to exonerate those wrongfully convicted, is attempting take on appeal. One was denied in 2015, but the judge will review the case in 2019. They are at Dick Conner Correctional Center in Hominy in Oklahoma and is 58 years old. Official Oxygen site, 2019. When his parole comes up, he never admits he is guilty, and the only way to get off on probation is admitting you did something wrong. Maybe he should say he had a dream of killing Denise, and he has recovered. He should say he had a dream, he got released from prison. Telling parole, well, it was only a dream that got me in here, so maybe a dream will help me leave. They believe it, so you should too. Many people believe Billy Charlie was involved since so many calls were called in that match him the most. Billy grew up with Jim Bob Howard and Floyd DeGraw, where all men grow up in Ada. The private investigator Dan Clark believes these men could be suspects for a Hardaway case. A statement from Kim Byers, another Ada resident, said, Billy Charlie was a pretty scary guy. Heavy.com, 2019. Howard also has a massive list of violent history. Charlie was arrested many times for violent and assault crimes with a weapon. His parents own a truck that was alibi on Night Owl Hardaway case. Also, a random letter was sent in 2009 claiming he was a friend of Howard's, and they did the crime. It also states DeGraw is a very violent man who is in prison right now for rape, and the police found Ada girl's IDs in his car. Heavy.com, 2019. Currently, new witness, rancher Ferlin Wayne Trailer, said that he saw the two men at the convenience store 2 or 3 days before the clerk disappeared. He said he was buying a pop near closing time, and the clerk told him twice, please don't leave me. He says it was Tommy and Carl. Was this person bribed too? Just like the case that was observed in the Clarence Derulo case of 2013 involving burglary allegations, where a further investigation of the police unit revealed that the intention of creating Clarence as the suspect was to clean the image of the police in the closure of theft cases. National Registry p. 1. They were forced to make false confessions as a mechanism to effectuate their prosecution. The strategy applied had two possible facets: to conceal a suspect, or to prove to the state that the department's deal on the cases is observable and up to the closure. The fact that the prosecutor bill applied professionally unethical mechanisms in search of justice shows how the entire siege was a pure art of fix. Engagement in mutilation and misrepresentation of testimonials that misdirected the jury in the determination of the case proves no point of mistake or irregularity. It all revolves around mincing and fixing for some reason. Mr. Peterson equally happened to oppress the appropriate pieces of evidence to assist in the determination of Ron's engagement in the scene. Hiding the examination results that are essential to Ron and Fritz's advantage indicated a sharp cause of malice and responsibility. Hiding Ron's mother diary and said he was home watching movies with him, Grisham p. 61. Dreams. At the end of Ron's journey, his dreams came to an end where he let go of the baseball game, and his dreams were over, Grisham p. 47. But his dream of Debbie Carter's murder would end very badly with him in jail for life. When the judge said they made a mistake, and they were free again, he thought he was in a dream still. Is this happening? It took him a minute to realize this was real. From the beginning to the end, all Ron's dreams of becoming free finally have happened. The day the judge read to him and Dennis they were free man, the dream he'd been waiting for all those long years behind bars in jail. Finally his dream came true. His one last dream, shortly after his release, he visited the New York Yankee Stadium with Dennis, where they could both share this one last dream in a baseball field. Ron was finally home. Shortly after this, Ron died from cirrhosis of the liver. He was 51 years old. His memories, his lifelong dreams will live on forever, teaching us all the truth of the criminal justice system and how it has to change. We thank you for showing us the truth, and the people will never forget you for showing us the truth. You will always be watching over all the innocent, making sure this does not happen again. This shows the police interviews can make a person say anything and what dreams could do to a person. If you dream of a crime, the government thinks you deserve to be in jail no matter what because you dream about it. The government thinks if this person dreams it, maybe we should give it to him. Ron and Dennis were a threat, so they found a gray area where they could lock up this threat. Truth be told, these men were innocent. Even when they were set free, they will always be looked at as threats. They still may be watched today, and for the rest of their lives, because they showed the government they were wrong. The government does not like to lose, and a lot of people still believe they are guilty by what the media put in people's heads. But the truth is these men were innocent, and this is proof our criminal justice system needs to be changed. More dreams of Ada. Ricky Joe Simmons walked into the police department on September 23rd, a previous druggie said he had a dream confession too. Simmons said he dreams he killed Deborah, and gave a whole confession about killing her and how. Grisham P. 162. But maybe he did kill Deborah with Glenn because Ricky is a druggie and maybe got his drugs from Glenn that night. Maybe Ricky felt guilty and came forward, and no one will know the truth. But the detectives decide not to pursue this because they already had Ron and Dennis locked up. They did play the tape in front of Ron in jail to make him angry. It worked. They wanted to send Ron a message saying, "We can do whatever we want." So why does Ada have so many dream confessions? Is it the air, or what they eat? More dreams of false convictions. All across the USA, we have found dozens of convictions where people were falsely convicted on dreams that never happened. Will you be next? In Colorado, a man named Clarence Moses E.L. was exonerated for a rape crime he did not commit following after spending 28 years in prison under evidence that his identity was revealed to the rape victim through a dream. The Attorney General termed the sentence a travesty of justice, with the man said to receive $2 million compensation. The only evidence used was the dream, with the crooked police going the extra mile to destroy the DNA evidence that Moses E.L. produced with the help of fellow inmates. A retrial of the case presented evidence that he was not the attacker, with even the victim providing a conflicting description of the attacker, which did not match the image of Clarence Moses E.L. Paul and P. The judicial system also used the dream claim to convict Stephen Linscott in 1980 after he provided a statement of a dream that mirrored the evidence surrounding the sexual assault and murder of his neighbor. The use of the claim that hair found on the crime scene was similar and consistent to Stephen Linscott's hair lacks probative values and is inherently prejudicial. The 40-year sentencing was overturned in 1985 after Stephen Linscott had served 3 years in prison as DNA evidence excluded him as the semen depositor, which indicates how the legal system can force trials based on crooked evidence such as dreams, Innocence Project and P. In another high-profile case known as the Beatrice Six, 6 people who were wrongly convicted for raping and murdering a woman in 1985 were to be compensated $28 million. None of the members of the group could remember the incidents, with the case only relying on what the police psychologist and detectives narrated. The police claimed that the lack of memory of the case was simply a result of repressed traumatizing memories, while assuring the defendants that the mind would eventually come back in a dream or deep thought. Flynn and P. DNA evidence exonerated the group after having served a combined 70 years in prison. The judicial system indicated that such wrongful convictions were a result of flawed science, the use of false memories, and aggressive interrogations. The movie indicating false victimization of Ward and Font not based on their confessions extrapolates into a negative image of a judicial system not based on empirical facts. The experience seems to have more extended narration beyond the case. From the vindication of Thomas Cornell Jr. in 1673, it directly shows that the issue of false sentencing is not a matter of today and might not end with the Haraway's murder case. Foreman P. 17. Thomas was similarly convicted in the mentioned year following the testimonies based on dream confession by witnesses, where he mentioned the witnesses indicated that his image appeared to while at sleep and pointed a knife to the mother, further extending to execute her murder, Rebecca Briggs. This is one of the people clearly described they seen an image while up. Surveillance has made something to produce images or false dreams to people they think are threats. Do you know what it could be? Consequently, Ryan Ferguson and Charles Erickson were convicted of the murder of one Heitholt. Both the two were planted in the killing of the lady after a dream confession made by Charles on how Ryan had strangled Heathcote to death after the night's party. Change your again. P. Despite elaboration that Charles and Ryan were never at parties to use their hands against the use of rope alleged by the detective, the judiciary and the prosecutor went ahead and convicted the two. Worse enough is how police are taking up the investigation with fixation and inflation of pieces of evidence. While Charles told Mr. Short that in the dream, the killer used his bare hands, Short created up the story and fed Charles with the issue of the victim's belt. He even went further to coerce him to admit to the cooked-up investigations. While the basis of prosecution was merely based on the dreams, it is articulated that both Ryan and Charles' confession never tallied, but went further to prosecute them. Besides, the filthy investigator hid the evidence that would have set Charles free. Dream implanting. There are so many dream confessions falsely convicted in jail. How many are still in jail that never reported a dream confession? How it is possible that our criminal justice system can lock up all these people on dreams? I will tell you how they are planting these dreams in people. I'm the first to find this out and share it with the world. Surveillance for years has been using projectors. A projector is a mechanical device for displaying an image by projecting it onto any surface, which is also called mirroring. The image is illumination and sound. The first projector was invented in 1875, Wikipedia says. In each, the brain constitutes an experience of apparent movement when presented with a sequence of near-identical still in quick succession, rather than the perception of the individual frames in the series. The persistence of vision should be compared with the related phenomena of beta movement and phi movement. A critical part of understanding these visual perception phenomena is that the eye is not a camera, i.e., there is no frame rate for the human eye or brain. Instead, the eye-brain system has a combination of motion detectors, detail detectors, and pattern detectors, the outputs of all of which are combined to create the visual experience. en.wikipedia.org, 2019. Imagine you're at home late at night tired or maybe been drinking and see a visual on the wall, pillow, or anywhere. Your mind would look at it and say, I must be tired, maybe I'm dreaming, and maybe I drank too much, maybe my mind is telling me to do this. A normal person gets so focused on the image, and they don't pay attention to the details. First, it's a clear square or rectangle. The lumens or light could be dim or strong. But a dim light would make it look more like a dream. Too strong of light would have too much detail. So these images surveillance produce as a stings to make a person go crazy to commit a crime or make them think they committed a crime when they didn't. They will even roleplay after acting like you did something. But the truth is you did nothing. They want you to say it was a dream, so they can lock you up like the book, The Innocent Man. Why would they do this? Simple, because they think you're a threat or different, and if there is a chance you could do a crime. They don't want you out in the world because you're a risk. It's just easier if they lock you up. They are serving America and protecting it in their heads. I do not see it that way. We came to America with hopes and dreams for freedom. All our dreams are getting stolen away because someone is different. What happened to the land of free? Therapy or kids are using projectors in a multisensory environment to promote calm and comfort through visual engagement. If they can use a projector for therapy, could someone use this same thing to produce images or environment to make a person think they are in a dream or their mind is telling them to do something? Now with advanced technology, they can make these projectors so small to fit in your pocket. They can even connect to your phone, so surveillance can use a phone to hear what you're doing and switch images what you say or do. Scary, right? They have this so planned out with videos to match each person's personality. They even have apps and games to make you think in a dream as a game or to connect with people you never met. Now, these games or apps are based only on crimes or how to induce your mind doing it. Now think about it, you see a movie, dream, or playing game, your mind starts thinking it's okay. They play this game where you see the image, where you see these actors, informants committing crimes. Soon you start seeing these people from the image out in the real world, and surveillance is hoping you will commit a crime. Now can you see the future? You have never seen these people, you get an image and then you run into them. I bet a lot of people have failed this test. This is why I want to do a case study and see the effects and how many will do something. Would you fall for this? So many have already. What makes you different? From my research, only 1% will survive these tests, the rest get locked up, or they lose their mind and never be the same again. No wonder there is so many mental illnesses and problems going on. Have you been tested? Even if you know it's a string or trick, and you still will be curious. What is going on? You can't hide or run from it because they can produce the image anywhere with a projector, and surveillance's job is to watch you 24/7. So you think they have anything else better to do? In our near future, there will be projectors all over doing advertisements and more. We are going to have to make a law to protect our homes and privacy where they can't produce an image in your home. We all hate advertisements already. Image, you can't escape them. This is our near future. I am here to warn you. The first thing to remember out of all this is when a person dreams and you wake up, what happens? You wake up for a few seconds, and you forget about it. Now, this is a fact. How many people can remember their dreams? Not many. So if a person remembers or says they had a dream and remembers it, most likely, they have been subject to the test of surveillance of a sting. Most people can't recall dreams except when you write them down in the first 5 minutes of waking up. So when people see an image late at night, they don't know what to call it, so they call it a dream. Bang, May. I'm a student at YourSoci, WI, and I made it my life goal to help the innocent and to research projectors to trick the human brain. This is called changing their mindset. This was already done with advertisements online, videos, communication, fake news. Every day our mindsets are being changed without you even knowing it. The dreams of so many have already put them behind bars. My dreams are to make sure no one else will suffer prison for something they did not do. My dreams of inducing dreams and tricking the human mind with projectors will be coming true very soon. I hope my dreams will free a lot of people that have been used by this technology. I will not sleep, I will not rest, and I will not give up hope on the American people till I know all the innocent have been freed from prison and no more innocent people will be sent to prison. I am also working on a project called Life Protect, where this will be all one system to protect the innocent. I am hoping to launch this product in 2021. I am here to make a change, and I will make my dreams come true. Inspiration. I am connected with all these people because of our innocence. I am here, and I am not going anywhere, so do not give up hope. Martin Luther King had dreams too about civil rights. He fought for it, and I will too. His dreams and many other people dreams of the land of free will not fade away. If you have more information about Tommy and Carl to help free them, please contact Colin Barrett and Swigert. That anyone with information about the case call 920-474-5731, or email tips to tommywardinocentman@gmail.com or barrettlawoffice@gmail.com. Works cited change.org. Governor Mike Parson. Please release Charles Erickson. https www.change.org/p/governor-mike-parson-please-release-charles-Erickson. Crane, Elaine Foreman. Killed strangely. The death of Rebecca Cornell. Cornell University Press, 2014.en.wikipedia.org. 2019. Movie Projector. Online available at https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/movie_projector. False accusation of rape. Wikipedia, Wikimedia Foundation. The 1st of December 2019, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/false_accusation_of_rape. Megan. 6 people were convicted of a murder they didn't even remember. Now a county owes them $28 million. The Washington Post, WP Company, the 6th of March 2019, https://www.washingtonpost.com/nation/2019/03/06/people-were-convicted-murder-they-did-them-million Grisham, John, the innocent man, murder and injustice in a small town.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the brash one. Let's see what this guy says.
Income stream, but you don't want to have to build websites or funnels or create videos or learn how to.
It said, filmed himself several times while he was high on crystal meth. He wanted others to see what happened.
I just want to show you all the wrinkles are going away. As I push up, look at that. I have no more droopy eye. Oh, and I push the skin up my, oh, that feels amazing. I don't want to do this side of my face so you can see the difference. But look at that. Oh. Pushing the skin up. You know, I'm folding the skin. There's another spot where there's a pinched nerve. It popped this morning. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, I was like choking. I was like being strangled. And as I push the skin out, staph comes out. Brown stuff comes out of my cheek. Look at that. There's no blood, by the way. Like this on my finger, this is all staph. Look, that's not blood. That's all brown staph. I mean, look at my face. Look at these eyes. Look at the bags here. Look at the side of the face. Look at that. You can see right here. That's a nerve. Look at that nerve. I mean, look at that. And then look at this. This side of my face. I look so rested and fresh. I have like no wrinkles. I had wrinkles before on this side and droopy eyes, and now, look at that. Look like I had a facelift. Stretching the skin back out. I look like a different person. Wow, I can see better. Oh man, it feels amazing. Look at that. Look. It just goes away. Oh my God, I'm gonna go out and celebrate. I'm out of work and I couldn't be happier because I'm no longer in pain. See it? See my lip lift? Oh my God, look at this wrinkle go away. This wrinkle right here, watch it go away. Oh, look. look 10 years younger. So now I'm in the LA USC County Hospital. I have to wait an hour. You can see it broke through my chest, whatever it is. I think I have staph all over my body. Well, my phone is about to go dead, but I'm in the right place now. I'm in the hospital, so we'll see what happens. Look at my chest. I have like goosebumps. I can't believe I had goosebumps, all things considered. I just woke up out of a sleep and whatever was in my chest, I'm burping, melted through the skin and started squiggling around. I think I have staph all over my body. Look at that. Oh my God. Okay. Just wanted to let my mom know. I'm gonna text this to her. I'll call you tomorrow, Mom.
Okay. I was watching that, and really that person was microwaved from addiction, from microwave weapon. When a microwave weapon gets in a person's mind, it makes them smoke more, do drugs more. Also, it makes them itchy, rashes. The guy had rashes on his skin, grabbing. I got dead skin right here from mine. The same thing. And I itch too, my legs. I'm even on itching medicine of the same thing. The same thing right here. The same thing. So, to tell you the truth, and when you get microwaved, go get some medicine. Tell them that you're itchy all the time. Tell them you're being microwaved, because you know how you know you're microwaved. Look at the pimples. They're dilated, and then the dryness in the ears, and no drugs. Surprisingly, I just took a drug test today, so for my life insurance before I go on my trip for posting signs for your social freedom to get more people signed up for this lawsuit. So I made sure I had life insurance so I could be frozen and cryo just in case. But these people are real, and they do microwave you, and they do kill you, and they make you overdose or do suicide, or make you itch your skin, peel, and other things. That should be it.